Right, so I'm here today with Lubaina Rakla and Leslie Chester of Liva. And Liva is a date replacement for sugar that has some amazing properties. But before we get into that and their company and where they are right now, it's important for us to know that they won $375,000 on the Dragon's Den just a couple of months ago. Tell us, Lubaina, what was that like?
Um, is something that Leslie definitely pushed me for a year to go on. And I have to say, it was probably for me, it was such a fun experience. Everyone at the CBC were so helpful. They loved us from the get-go. The first pitch we did, Leslie, you can join in anytime you want. They just gave us a wink saying, you're going to be on. So for me, it was a very positive experience. The day of the pitch, we felt pretty confident. Yes, the pitch itself was an hour long, and there was some hot and cold moments, but I really liked the way they aired us and they told our story, and there was a big lift, and it was probably the best marketing campaign I've done with spending zero money. And for me, it was a win-win situation. Leslie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Leslie, what parts didn't they air? Like when you look back on it now, and they showed us like 7 or 8 minutes, and you're telling us they filmed you for about an hour. Can you remember any of the things that they didn't air, or was it all pretty much the same?
I think it was like 75 minutes, and the time went really, really fast. There was a lot of, we worked hard to provide a little bento box of samples, and it created a real cross section of different applications for both our sugar and our syrup. And so we spent quite a lot of time on the tasting. And, we worked very hard on these beautiful bento boxes, and they almost completely cut it out. But that said, I think what we called a Hollywood moment was when one of them actually said that the syrup tasted better than maple syrup. And we weren't expecting that at all, but it was a really significant moment. And before Lubaina and I had been sort of preparing ourselves, we knew the key points we wanted to make, but we also had our Hollywood moments that we thought would be the small snippets that they would edit in as opposed to edit out. And so I think one of the things that I was most pleased about is our top Hollywood moments all got edited in. And, when I think about what they cut out, it was mostly the food. There was a little bit of back and forth between us, but I don't think we felt that we'd lost any of the good stuff in the final edit, which, as Lubaina said, is real credit to the editing team there.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear that the parts that you thought really were the best parts were the parts that got in there, except of course them eating, but of course they did eat it. It was just like, it didn't get shown so clearly. So really a bento box.
Yes.
A real bento box.
Yes.
Yeah. We made our very famous chocolate brownies and various different things that we thought they would be interested in. But I think we didn't know when the airing came whether they would show us in a good light or a bad light, because obviously the editor can do whatever they want. And we had heard that sometimes they actually take pieces from other episodes and splice them in to add to the drama. That didn't happen, which was
okay. So it was fair to being true to life. And so now, Lubaina, you are a 100%, right from the get-go startup.
Yes.
And Leslie, you're the former chief marketing officer for Nestle, like one of the if not the largest food company in the world.
Correct.
I am really interested in how the two of you came to become partners and co-founders together. Tell me that story.
So, it was like 2 years into my business, and it was COVID, and I was really in the hunt for the right partner. Like, I wanted someone who had CPG experience. I wanted someone who could be like a real partner that I could learn from, because I mean, business is not something, I mean, I come from a family of business, but having a food business is a totally different ball game. Like, you need to work there. And I remember listening to all these podcasts of all these women. They're like, yeah, I worked at, this Sobeys for this many years. Like, they knew the business inside out, right? And that's what I was missing. And I was fortunate enough that one of the branding company that I hired to do my branding, had worked for Nestle with Leslie, and she said, you know what, I know this really amazing woman. She was a CMO at Nestle. I know she is a consultant now, and let me see if she would be interested in consulting Liva. And she introduced it on an email, and I don't know. I mean, as soon as I felt so privileged to be working with someone like Leslie, uh, because she was so humble. She was so she always shared every knowledge that she learned. And I mean, for me, it was probably the best decision I made, because she brought me to the forefront. Like, I was a little bit of an introvert. I just wanted to do my stuff and stay at the back and work. And being with her made me a lot more confident. And yeah, so that's how she came into my life.
So I'm curious about who the proposal. Like, this is like a marriage of sorts. And so, fantastic. You find this, great, consultant who's definitely CPG and all of it. But I mean, at what point and who brought it up about
So,
being co-founders?
okay, so like 6 months in, at that time, I just asked Leslie. I'm like, I basically told her, I'm like, you know what, I don't know if I can afford you as a consultant anymore. And Leslie, when she came into the business, I felt like she was in like 110%. Like, sometimes I felt like, oh my God, like I don't know, like, life without Leslie. Like, she just swam right in, took control over like every part of the business, from costing to marketing to like showing up with me to trade shows. So it was like she was like a partner. Like, she wasn't a consultant. She was acting like a partner maybe 2 months in. And it was almost like inevitable. Like I think she also knew my my burn rate. She knew my accounts, and she knew that she was invested. I'll let her talk about her part, but I felt like she was so invested, and she had so much hope with the business, and she knew it had legs, and she didn't want to just like leave me. And she's like, okay, you know what, we'll just be partners then. So I don't know, Leslie, maybe you have another side, but this is how I saw it.
Well, yeah, I think I mean, that's very sweet. Anna's been very kind about things. But I mean, the way it started was Lubaina saying, I wonder if you could kind of help me. And I had no idea about the business or what I was doing or what she was doing. So we started with a 1-month SWOT analysis. And at the end of the SWOT analysis, I got together with Lubaina and her husband, because it was important for me to also understand a little bit about the family dynamic and the family investment in this business. And they were very, very open, very humble, and very eager to learn. And that made me feel really quickly affiliated with the family and with the business. So I did a pretty deep dive for a month, and it felt to me like they were very much at a crossroads. And we had a bit of what I sometimes call a come to Jesus conversation about just how tough it was going to be to turn things around. And so at that point, this was like a 4-week project for me. And it was Christmas. And I said, you know, I suggest you think about this over Christmas and think about whether you're really ready for what it's going to take. And I don't want to hear from you tomorrow or the next day because you need to reflect on this and talk about it. And so a week or two went by and they came back and they said they were all in and whatever it was going to take. And would I be on the journey with them? And at this point, you know, it's funny that you talk about a proposal because a relationship is about a sort of growing relationship and a falling in love with the brand and the people. And I just felt very trusted and very honored to be part of this business. But the thing that really appealed to me was Lubaina's humility. You know, I have worked with quite a few entrepreneurs since I was in my consulting business. And I think one of the things I've learned from Lubaina is timing and the power of the universe, which was not stuff I ever thought about before I met Lubaina. And I think there was something about COVID, and COVID meaning that there wasn't a lot of business. And it was sort of divine timing that I met Lubaina through this mutual contact. And so I'd never really met somebody who was so committed to her belief. It wasn't just about, I want to make $1 million or 10 million or whatever. It's, I really believe in my purpose. And I thought, okay, so she's humble, she believes in her purpose, she's got awesome products. Together we can turn this around and make something great. And that's really how it all started and continued.
Well, I think there's um, a real lesson there for all entrepreneurs who are out there busy having conversations. And so I think about the conversations that I encourage people to have. So conversations, certainly with their end users, so that they know their end users. Conversations that they have with other people in the industry as they're trying to find out about the industry, and conversations that they might have with kind of significant players who, they might be looking for strategic partners or something, and so they're reaching out, they're having all these conversations, but it just strikes me that that you never know when a conversation and a meeting of the minds between two people could turn out to be a real windfall in terms of a relationship where a startup meets a titan, in the industry, and they become partners together. And so that opportunity, I suspect, exists for a lot of people who, like you say, have her kind of passion, commitment, and belief in what she was doing. And they run into other people who are saying, like, wow, this isn't just a bag of money for this person. This is something else altogether. It'd be nice to be attached to something like that.
I think there's another thing that is, I know quite a lot of my former colleagues. Some of them have decided board work is what they want to do. And others feel much more about rolling their sleeves up and perhaps being the entrepreneur that they always wanted to be. And I think it's important for young people like Lubaina not to feel intimidated by the title or whatever it was. I mean, we're just people. And like Lubaina, we all put our underwear on in the morning and go about what we have to do. And it's kind of refreshing not to be in that sort of senior C-suite thing and to be able to just do what we need to do to get the business going.
What stage are you at right now, Donna? Like, where are you? Are you, going to help our listeners understand that you've already have production, you already have like packaging.
Yeah,
Are you
we're
in
way
stores
past
now?
that.
What stores are you in? And kind of like how far along are you, and what's the next big piece that you're working on?
Okay, so to be honest with you, I'm a speed person. Like everything happens really fast in my life.
Good.
So I thought of the idea like when I'm gonna launch in September of 2018. By 2019 May, I had my packaging, my supply chain, everything done. As you know from Dragon's Den, I had some capital and I spent a lot of money on getting into retail stores like Loblaw, Sobeys, Metro, Quebec. We went into Costco, France. Like, so this is where Leslie came in and kind of grounded me, because I just thought that, you know, this was such a new and coming product. And if I could just be the first, like a pioneer of this, and get it there as fast as I can. And money just doesn't help, because I really, every time I pitched the product, people wanted it. Like, you know, people loved it. I never had, I mean, till this day, like everyone has given me a chance, you know, to be on shelf, which has been the biggest, I guess, push for me, even though, you know, it's a premium product. It's not a commodity. You know, there's a certain type of demographic that uses it. Knowing that people are still giving me a chance to actually be on shelf. So I think what I did was I did all my work right in those 4 months, got everything done, and then I was just selling and marketing. Right before when Leslie came on, that's when, like, you know, COVID, like during the first year of COVID, I did really well because people were baking and people were, you know, at home and eating healthy. It was 2021 when people were coming out and there was recession. People had lost their jobs. People were eating more differently. That's when I knew, I was like, okay, now what do I do? How do I take it to the next step? And I was challenged by my family to do this on a budget. And which is when Leslie had come in and, you know, helped me with my margins, helped me with my costs, helped me with my burn rate. And this is what has happened till now is we have consolidated the business, made it very clean. We have one distributor now instead of 4 distributors. Now we don't care about being everywhere. We want to be where we're going to sell. It's the healthy, wealthy, wise, you know, like Leslie says, that's where we want to be. It's like the learning has been amazing, you know, and I think that's what businesses are for. It's to learn, right? The goal is to be a master at that skill, not be a skilled person creating a business, you know?
What kind of marketing does the company do at this stage, Leslie?
Well, because we have a very limited budget, it's mostly very targeted social media, email marketing, and that sort of thing. As Lubaina says, it's very much targeting the healthy, wealthy, and the wise. And we are very clear when the investor money comes through, it will help us to create more content that is very clearly targeted at that group of people. And of course, you know, it's all about usage. So when you think about date syrup, the first question is, what does it taste like? And then the second question is, what do I do with it? And so awareness and trial. I mean, these are marketing buzzwords, but it really is building the opportunity for people to try it. And so, for example, sampling would be a very important pillar to get as many samples out, because as soon as people try date syrup, like I say to them, it's going to change your life, and it does. And like you heard on Dragon's Den, people think it's even better than maple syrup. The date powder and sugar are a little bit more challenging because not everybody's a baker. And so you need to think about what are other applications are possible. And so recipes and those sorts of
demos, you know, like demos in stores. Like we have to invest in that now, because as soon as they try a brownie that, like, you know, recipes, you know, that Leslie's also created, they're like, okay, we can't believe there's no aftertaste. It tastes like authentic, like you're eating real food instead of some sweetener with empty calories that's gonna hurt your gut. It's a good for you sugar, right? Like people need to know why date sugar, why date syrup.
Yeah.
So that education is where we have to put the money in.
And Leslie, so I met Lubaina through Investor Ready Investor Q&A, where we, you know, we're kind of helping startups understand the needs of investment type organizations and funds and so on. And you had reached out to me and you said, I really love what Lubaina is getting from investor rate. What did you see that what changes or what kind of differences did you see that you were referring to at that time?
Well, I mean, it was elevating her game, elevating her spiel, if you like. How is she going to pitch? You know, pitching isn't about just telling your story, it's about selling yourself. And I think what I could see is that Lubaina was, I mean, Lubaina's learning style is different to somebody who, you know, has got an honors degree in business. Lubaina learns as she goes. And, you know, I think it's fair to say, Lubaina, that you're a little bit dyslexic. And so what she is able to do is really absorb information and then share it back. But what you guys had done is really help her distill the information and the way she told her story, I think, so that she could be a really convincing at pitching. And, you know, over the last couple of years, what I've seen is she used to rely on me, and now she relies on herself. And I think you and I both have the goal, it's like training wheels. And if the training wheels can come off and they can just flourish on their own, then our job to some extent is done. And that's enormously rewarding. So I congratulate you guys on the, you know, the fact that every day she had to make a 5-minute pitch. It's great.
So we're kind of at a point now where, you know, for anybody who doesn't know at this stage, so you know the sweetness in dates does not behave inside your body the way sugar does. So it doesn't affect insulin levels, and diabetics don't have problems with it, and so on and so forth. So the minute you say that, people are going to want to know, where can I find Liva? Where can they find Liva? Where is this one distributor? Where is it?
Okay, so we're pretty national right now. We're at like Sobeys, Loblaws. We just got into Longos and Metro. We're in Healthy Planet, Nature's Emporium. We're in Pharma Save. We're on the islands. We're in Manitoba. Like, because I when I went in, I paid the listing fee, so I got everywhere. And then I, you know, lost a lot of stores due to COVID, but now we are back on. Our new distributor is doing an amazing job. We have a good relationship with them. They have our backs, and every week we see the sales, you know, are growing. And now we're talking to Costco, actually, believe it or not. And so, you know, like it's growing. There is a market for this. There's a niche market right now. One day it will be hopefully coconut sugar, where it's going to be even at a Dollarama. But right now I'm at the beginning stages. Like, we have to quickly and like strategically get there in a well manner. Like, people need to know it, and then eventually I want to grow in those cities. And then one of the reasons why I'm looking for an investor as well is to go to the US, because I know US is its own beast, and you can't just go in with the packaging. You need marketing money, you need people to help you sell, you need education. Like, I don't know, I'm not at that stage to do it alone. I will have to have either a partner, investment partner, who can really understand that market for me.
Well, this particular step with you know, with a dragon who has a special interest, right? Comes from a community where there's a lot of diabetes, that might be you know, kind of give you that next step up that puts you in the realm of the interest of some VCs for sure. But you mentioned Costco, and it just, you know, it strikes me because I'm myself personally, I'm a follower of Dr. Stephen Gundry, which is a lot about gut health, right? And
Exactly.
in all of his books, you know, he makes a special section at the back about where you can find these various things that would otherwise be hard to find. And I noticed that, you know, he frequently mentions supplements at Costco, and he just gives the name right straight out, right at Costco. you can get it there, and so on. So look forward to reading his next book and seeing, Liva in there. So yeah, it really, really interesting. It was such a great opportunity to talk to you today because you're such a, I'm not going to say an unusual pair, but I've never really met two co-founders now who are like, one was a titan in the industry and the other's a brand new startup, and you're just both really, really making it happen. I'm pretty excited about this. I was happy to tell everybody at a meeting earlier today about your success on the Dragon's Den and the two of you and who you were and so on. And I think it's a great story and a great match. Thank you very much for joining us today.